Hello. It looks like we've got a lot of people coming in on the call all of a sudden. My name's Shelby Shadwell. I'm the Treasurer and Secretary for Wyoming Promise, and we will be getting going very soon. And it's really great to see folks jump on the call so quickly, so thank you. I'm unmuting Ken Chestek, our chair, and Lynn Horton Morrison, our co-chair. So you guys are unmuted, and we will be basically controlling the call based on the number of people we get. So Lynn and Ken, thanks for joining.
Thanks, Shelby, and glad to see people joining the call. I know looks like we had about 30 people signed up for the call, so we're expecting a bunch more people to join here. For those of you who have never been on a call before, from the service we're using is called Maestro Conference, and Shelby and I have access on our screen to a list of who's on the call by your name, and we mute all of the microphones so we don't have some distracting background detail noise from unknown sources. And then when you want to participate say something, you can press a number on your keypad. The number 1 usually works best. Just press the 1 key on your phone keypad, and your hand goes up on our screen, and we know that you want to say something, and then we can unmute you and call on you by name. So that's how we run these calls. That way we kind of we don't have a lot of people talking over each other, and it's a lot more easy to manage the call so everybody can hear everybody else. So we're a few minutes early. So Lynn, you want to say anything? Any greetings, Lynn?
Oh, I'm just really happy to hear that so many people have already signed up for the phone call, which to me shows, the ever-increasing interest in this cause and how concerned people are about it and how that concern is spurring people towards action. So I'm very excited to hear people and continue to be part of this really great Wyoming activist community. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll still wait a few more minutes before we get the meeting started, because people are still joining the call, and we'll get started here in just a few more minutes.
And yes, this is Shelby Shadwell again. Thank you all again, if you're just joining especially. This is a really great opportunity for us to keep moving forward. As I think we're going to go over, and if you were able to read the report that Ken sent out in our email for this call, really exciting things going on. And so thank you again for joining. We'll get started here shortly. And just for those folks that are just now joining, again, we will keep folks muted at the very beginning. But you can always press a number, any number on your dial pad, and that will raise your hand and we can answer your call. Sorry to be redundant for those of you that have heard this already. But so thank you for joining us. Ken, do you have anything else as we wait for folks to join?
No, other than I see a lot of folks on the call who have not been on prior calls. This was a service we've used, and I see Azer Cole has joined the call. Azer is with American Promise in Massachusetts, and thank you, Azer, for joining the call. And if you want to say something, you can raise your hand later on, and we'll absolutely hear from what you have to hear what you have to say. But American Promise lets us use this service, and it helps us manage the call and listen, make sure that people aren't talking over each other all the time, as sometimes happens on a lot of conference call services. This one allows us to kind of control the microphone and make it a much more manageable experience. And boy, we're getting a lot of people joining the call now. A lot of whom, some names people have not met yet, or people who haven't been active with the prior. We used this service throughout the campaign in the last 2 years when we were trying to keep everybody on task and keep going, and it worked out really well. So, yeah, we got a lot of people. This is going to be a big call. I really love it. So let's just wait another minute or two. For those of you who have just joined the call, I think some of you who have just joined the call have not participated in one of these calls before. Like I said, we use this service to keep everybody muted so there's no background noise, but also so people aren't talking over each other. It's easy to, when you have a large number of people on a call, it's really hard to manage. So we do use this to control the microphone. If you want to say something at any time, press a number on your keypad. I think, Shelby, I don't know I think numbers 1 through 5 work. I'm not sure about anything over 5, but the easiest is just to press the number 1 on your keypad, and a little hand icon next to your name will light up on our screens, and we'll know that you want to say something, and then we'll call you as we control the microphone and pass it around.
That's correct. That's correct, Ken. And yes, again, if you want to say anything at any time, just press 1 on your keypad, and we'll definitely get to you. And man, this is a really great turnout. So thank you all of you from the state of Wyoming and beyond, for reaching out and being a part of this. This is really heartening. So thank you.
Yeah, so it's 7:03, and the call was scheduled to start at 7 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. And I don't have a real organized agenda for the call. Mostly what we want to do tonight is kind of go over a little bit of what we've talked about at the retreat. A lot of the people who are on the call here were not at the retreat. I see a few folks who were at the retreat on the call. But most of the people on this call were not at the retreat in Casper. So I hope you all had an opportunity to read the report that we put together from that retreat. I'm not going to go over it in any great detail, but I do want in a few minutes to open it up for any questions that anybody might have about the retreat or about the report or whatever. But again, the main purpose for this call is to start to get people connected up to some of the different working groups that we want to create. If you read the report, we made some policy decisions about how to go forward, and the strategy was we're going to go forward with a legislative strategy. We are not going to be engaging in a second petition drive, at least not this year. We're going to try again. We got pretty close to success in the legislature. We had a 37 to 20 to 3 positive vote in the House, which was huge. That's almost 2/3 of the House, almost 2-to-1 margin to support getting money out of politics through a 28th Amendment to the Constitution. That was huge. And we were starting to make headway in the Senate. We lost an earlier vote in the Senate, but we were starting to turn people around and had switched at least 2 or 3 votes that had from an earlier no to yes. So we believe that we were, by the time the session ended, we probably had 12 or 13 senators who would have voted yes had it gotten to the floor in the Senate. That's not 16, but it's close. So we felt like we got very far. So we're going to focus on trying to get a measure back to the Wyoming legislature in 2021. 2020 session is a budget session. You need a 2/3 vote to get anything on the agenda to be voted on, and that's going to be really hard to do. So we're focusing on 2021, the general session, and that's our strategy. So I see Lynn's got her hand up. Lynn, what do you want to say?
Well, the only thing I was wondering if it was feasible to do was because there appears to be new people on the call, and because there seems to be so much interest from everybody that's on the call, I was just wondering if it was possible for us to go around and just introduce ourselves and the county we're from, and in, one sentence why we're interested in this. Just make it really short and brief, but at least that kind of gives us an idea as to who this group is. So I just think that would be a really good connection with everybody, moving forward.
I think that's a great idea, and I can go through one by one. We have 25 people on the call right now, so we can go through one by one. I'll call on people. Is somebody going to take notes, so we keep track of what we're learning from this? Can you take notes, Lynn?
Yeah, I can go ahead and take notes, yes.
Okay, all right, good. So I'm going to just go down the list now and start unmuting folks one by one. So Azer Cole is on the call. Azer, you have the mic. Please introduce yourself, and very quickly, what's your interest with or connection to the project?
Great. Well, thank you, Ken. Thank you, Lynn, Shelby, everyone from Wyoming Promise for inviting me to the call. I'm the state manager for American Promise, a national group working to win the 28th Amendment. I'm calling in from Cambridge, Massachusetts. And my job over at American Promise is a lot of our legislative work in places like Ohio and New Hampshire and Pennsylvania, and being helpful in places like Wyoming, if that is something that you all want me to help with. But happy to be here, and I won't take up any more time. Thanks, you guys.
And thank you so much, Azer. And I have to say that American Promise has been very, very helpful to us and very supportive of our work, and we're very happy to have the support from American Promise. Sarah Salsi is with us. Sarah, please introduce yourself quickly and where you're from. Sarah, you have the mic.
Yes?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, great. I'm Sarah Salsi, and I'm the county team leader for Albany County.
Okay, thank you. And Sarah was at our retreat in Casper. Next on our list is Linda Payne. Linda, please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Linda Payne, and I was the wrangler for Park County.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Welcome to our call. And the next one on my list is Ruth, no last name. Ruth, please introduce yourself.
Yes, this is Ruth Michaels from Park County.
Okay, Ruth, thank you for joining the call. Next we have John Bolander. John, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is John Bolander from Natrona County, and I have a lot of issues that I'm concerned about, but Citizens United is one of the big ones. We need to do away with that.
Thank you for joining, John, and we'd love to have your help. We could use a lot of help in Natrona County. It's a very important county, obviously, so thank you for joining the call. Next, we have Steve Johnston. Steve, you have the mic.
Yes, I'm in Casper, Wyoming, and we went out and helped to get signatures when the people from Sheridan came down, and I was very impressed, and I want to see how the process works, and I'm excited. I think this is something that would be a very good change. And that's all
Thank you.
Thank
you, Steve. And I look forward to working with you going forward. Next, we have John Rivera from Cheyenne. John, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm John Rivera from Cheyenne, as Ken mentioned, and just want to see what I can do to help.
Thank you, John. John was instrumental in our legislative effort in 2019, this past session, because he used to work for the LSO and had a lot of inside information and was hugely helpful in the success we had in the legislature. Vanda, also from Cheyenne, please introduce yourself.
Yep, I'm back from my 4-month sabbatical and on the call, and I'm going to listen in and see where we're going from here. I did read the memo on the retreat that I had to miss.
Okay, thank you, Vanda. And again, Vanda was also extremely helpful throughout the campaign, although she was not in Cheyenne at the time of the legislative session, but the lead up to it, she was one of our best planners and did a great job helping us out. Next, we have Mike Lammers. Mike, you have the mic.
Yes, this is Mike Lammers from Cheyenne, and I'm looking forward to moving ahead, helped with a lot of the signatures, petitioning here in Laramie County, and looking forward to moving ahead with whatever else we can do.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Look forward to working with you again. Jennifer Miller from up in Bighorn. Jennifer, you have the mic.
Yeah, Jennifer Miller from Basin in Bighorn County. I was the team leader here, and we have a lot of enthusiasm for getting dark money out of politics.
Thank you, Jennifer. Bighorn was the first county to get its goal in our signature drive last year, largely due to Jennifer's outstanding support. By the way, Jennifer, I do have a certificate, a framed certificate for you for all your hard work, which I'll have to get to you somehow, or maybe somebody already has delivered it from. I gave it to Jen Lorenz. Have you gotten the certificate yet?
No, but thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your fantastic leadership in Bighorn County. Okay. Next, we have Linda Jackson. Linda, you have the mic.
Hi, I'm Linda Jackson from Park County, Cody, and I've been volunteering and want to know if there's something more I can do in the future. Thank you.
Okay, and we have lots of things to do, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes, so thank you for joining the call. Next, we have Mike Madden from Buffalo area. Mike.
Yes, I'm Mike Madden. I'm a former legislator, and my interest in this lies with what I saw happening over the last 6 years with regard to dark money in the legislature, and I guess that's why I'm involved.
And thank you, Mike. And Mike has agreed to be one of the directors of Wyoming Promise, Inc., which we are in the process of finalizing the organization for right now, and we look forward to having Mike's voice on the board of directors, and his experience in the legislature could be very, very useful. And thank you so much, Mike, for joining. Next on our list, we have Melody Nielsen from Cheyenne. Melody, you have the mic.
Hi, this is Melody Nielsen, and I'm the leader for Laramie County. I've been working heartily, hopefully, and wanting to do as much as I can to get rid of Citizens United. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. And the Laramie County team did not reach its goal, but only because it had the biggest number it had to get. It did get more signatures than any other county, all due to Melody's work. And I think Melody believe she was the top signature gatherer of all volunteers throughout the state. So, Melody, thank you so much for your excellent, excellent hard work. Next, we have Eric Dalton.
Hello, Eric Dalton, also a Laramie County petitioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, and welcome to the call, and thank you for all the help you've provided so far, and we'll keep you involved. Next, we have Kathy, and I believe is this Kathy Kent?
Yes, it is, calling from Sheridan, and just wanted to hear the details since the retreat.
Yes, thank you so much, Kathy. Kathy was our facilitator up in Sheridan. She does that for a living, but she donated her expertise in facilitating the group on Saturday, and it was a fantastic retreat. We got a lot done, as you can tell from the report that you've seen. And thank you so much, Kathy, for your leadership there. Next, we have Greg, which I believe is probably Greg Haas. Is that Greg Haas?
Yes, hi. Sorry, I had to find the mute button on my phone.
Okay.
I came on after you got introductions going, so I'm not sure what all I'm supposed to say, but my name is Greg, and I'm calling from Johnson County.
Right. We're just going around name and your affiliation. Greg was, he's also been helping us out with our website and has been fantastic. You don't need to mute your mic. I'm going to mute you because I'm controlling the mic over here on my computer, so you can keep your mic unmuted and I won't hear you. So
okay,
thanks,
good.
Greg, for joining the call. And next we have Lois Peterson, also from Johnson County. Johnson County is well represented tonight. Go ahead, Lois.
Just Lois Peterson, team leader from Johnson County.
Thanks. And Johnson County was also one of the counties that got their, I guess Johnson was the first and Bighorn was second to get their numbers. But yeah, those were for the two leading counties that got their numbers, and it was all due to Lois and Jennifer's excellent leadership in those two counties. Next, we have Sylvia Bagdonis. Sylvia, you have the mic.
Hi, I'm Sylvia in Albany County, and I helped collect signatures on petitions, and I saw how enthusiastic and interested a lot of people were, so I'd like to see that momentum go forward.
Thank you, Sylvia. Sylvia was at our retreat in Casper, so thank you for your continued interest, and we'll keep you involved. Next, we have Chris Corfanta from up in Sheridan. Chris.
Hi, everybody. Chris Corfanta here, and I've been the county team leader in Sheridan County.
Another one of our counties, and of the counties that we had 5 counties get to their 15% threshold, and Sheridan County kept on going and got to like 20% of their number. So they did fantastic. They had the highest percentage of what they needed to get. So thank you, Chris, for your fantastic leadership up in Sheridan County. Next, we have R.C. Johnson from Casper. Go ahead, R.C.
Hi. I was involved in trying to get the support resolutions from League of Women Voters and AAUW.
Okay, and we'll call on you later on for a report on how that went. I think we have some good news from the League, but I don't know about AAUW yet. But go ahead. We'll call on you in a little bit, R.C. R.C. was also at our retreat in Casper. Next, we have Jerry Marie Johnson from Laramie County. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry Maria Johnson. I was the notary for Laramie County.
Thank you, Jerry, for all of your fantastic work. Next, we have Linda Ollender from, I believe, Fremont. Go ahead, Linda.
Hi, everyone. I worked gathering signatures with Margie Farias, who did a fantastic job as the county leader. We met our goal. We're very proud, but we need to know where we're going next in this legislative session.
Okay, yes, thank you so much, Linda. Fremont was one of the 5 counties that got their goal, and I really appreciate your leadership. And Margie, I know Margie couldn't be here tonight, but you'll let Margie know what's going on. And the last one we have on our list is, not least, of course, is Christy Garretts. Go ahead, Christy.
Hi, I was the team leader in Campbell County. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. All right, so that's the list of the folks we have. This is a nice big call. What I wanted to do was update you a little bit on a few developments since the retreat, one of which we mentioned in the report, and that is that the League of Women Voters met the week after we had our retreat. Also, they met in Casper, and they put together a resolution in support of the 28th Amendment. And I'm going to unmute R.C. Johnson again. And R.C., do you want to say anything about the results of the vote at the League of Women Voters, the statewide league? R.C., you have the mic. Are you there, RC? RC, is your phone on? We're not hearing you, RC. Are you there? Okay. We're not hearing RC. I did get a report back from Susan Simpson, the president of the League of Women Voters, saying that they did adopt a resolution in favor of a 28th Amendment to get dark money out of politics. We haven't put that out publicly yet because the League has not yet reported to its full membership about that vote. The vote was positive. We want to give them a chance to let their own membership know about that before we post it on our website. But as soon as they've notified their members, we will post on our website the fact that the League is now in support of what we're trying to accomplish here, which is huge because it's one of the tasks that we're going to take on here in the next 2 years is to start gathering support from people like that, or groups like that. We want to start talking to Kiwanis clubs and other groups and civic groups and start building support. And the League is a very important group to support us, so we're very happy to have them on board. And I don't know what the AAUW is up to yet, but Marcy, RC, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about how the vote went at the League and where we are with the AAUW?
They tabled it, and it was the Wyoming AAUW, so you had representatives from branches in various parts of Wyoming. The problem was that the resolution that was presented had the word big money and not dark money. And the members were looking for clarification on the language, and it has been tabled until our fall conference call meeting.
Okay. So it's still in the works, and that's fine. We have time. We don't need everybody on board today because we're building support for an event in 2021, so we have time to work that out, and thank you for that report. So the other thing I wanted to report on, and then I'll open it up for questions, you saw in the report that there was a development. One of the things that we were talking about doing was connecting up with the Corporations Committee, the Joint Corporations Committee, which we have a number of supporters on that committee. In the House, our bill went to the Joint Corporations Committee, and they sent it on to the House floor 7-2. And then after it got passed in the House, it went to the Senate Corporations Committee, where it failed 3-2. But that meant we have 9 of the members. We have 9 supporters and 5 opponents on that committee. So that's a good committee at this point for us. And they had their first interim meeting in Casper. Everything's happening in Casper right now. It's interesting. But they had their first meeting in Casper a week ago, May 13th and 14th, and something came up that we weren't there. And one of the things we wanted to do is attend those meetings and keep our face and our project in front of the Corporations Committee so that they'll be poised to support us again in 2021. But something that came up that we weren't prepared for was a proposal to amend the Wyoming statutes to try and create more transparency in corporate donations. Or actually, so I did some research today. There was an article in the Casper Star-Tribune last week, which it turns out is not quite accurate, or at least I read it, and what I read is not exactly what's going on. But so I did today listen to the session. The corporation session was recorded, was live streamed, and you can look at it on YouTube. And I listened to the discussion of this issue, and also looked at the language that the Secretary of State's office is proposing. And what the Secretary of State's office is proposing is helpful. It doesn't quite address our issue directly. It's good language. We want to support it, but it's not going to go as far as we need it to go. So currently, Wyoming Statute 22-5-215. No, I'm sorry, that's not the one. It's 22-25-102. The way it's written right now, it prohibits corporations from donating any money directly to any candidate, and that's all it says. So what's apparently has been happening is corporations have been donating money not to the candidate, but have been donating it to the candidate's campaign committee or to one of the parties for the purpose of passing it through to the candidate, or to a political action committee, which then directly coordinates. So they're proposing a simple amendment to that statute that would prohibit corporations from, they're adding language, you're prohibited not only from donating to a candidate, you're also prohibited from donating to a candidate's campaign committee, a political party, or a political action committee which directly coordinates with a candidate or a candidate's committee. So there's a loophole. The corporations were able to pass money through to a candidate's committee or to a political action committee which does coordinate. And that's a good thing to prohibit. The corporation should not be prohibited from doing that. And the question came up during the committee hearing whether that violates Citizens United. And Cale Case, the Senator Case from Lander, said, no, we can do this without violating Citizens United. And I think he's right, because Citizens United gave corporations the right to spend unlimited amounts of money on independent expenditures. And the language that the Secretary of State is proposing deals with direct expenditures, not the independent expenditures. So it's a step in the right direction, but it does not address the big problem of Citizens United, which is unlimited corporate donations to these so-called independent expenditures, the 501c4 independent expenditure loophole. That one is not being addressed by what the Secretary of State of Wyoming is now proposing. So there's still a need for our work. If they adopt this language that they proposed in Casper last week, good, fine, we like it, but it's nowhere near far enough. It does not address the heart of the issue, which is the independent expenditures, which are still under Citizens United unlimited. So we will be in touch with the Corporations Committee to state our support for this, I believe, but we can't sit back and say this solves the problem, because it doesn't really address the major problem that we have. So with that, as you can see from the report, we've created all kinds of working groups, and we want people to sign up for them. And now I want to open for questions. I have 2 hands up already. So if you have a question that you want to say something or volunteer for something or ask a question, please press 1 on your keypad. And I'm going to unmute Shelby Shadwell, whose hand is up. Shelby, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Ken. And again, I'm the treasurer and secretary right now for Wyoming Promise. And I will say that I do believe, and I've talked with Ken and Lynn and others about this, the reason that they are addressing this issue in the legislation or potential legislation Ken just described is because of what we did, what you did, all of you. Otherwise, this would not have been proposed or introduced at all. So all of you made a giant impact in that way. That's all I wanted to say as far as things go.
Yes, I think that's correct. I think that we've put this issue on the map, and I'm glad to see that they are doing. And Kai Schoen, who testified in front of the Corporations Committee on this issue, said they drafted this language to go as far as they thought they could legally go, given the constraints of Citizens United, which is probably why they didn't try and go after independent expenditures. That's what Citizens United talked about. I also see Lynn's hand up. Lynn, you have the mic.
Of course, I echo everything that Shelby says. You know, we wouldn't have gotten. It's clear to me that they wouldn't have started this process. The Secretary of State proposing this, or the Corporations Committee discussing it, had we not, been a very active presence there in the legislature. So I certainly agree with Shelby there. The only reason that I had my hand up, though, was when people want to talk, just for the purposes of taking the minutes, there are those of you whose names are a little bit complicated, or I'm not sure I got the spelling correct. So when you put your hand up and Ken calls on you, if you can just say again the spelling of your name. And the only person I'm not quite sure about, Ken, in terms of where they're from the minutes, is R.C. Johnson. Where's R.C. Johnson from?
R.C. is from Casper, and her hand is up, and I'm going to call on her in a second. But yeah, she is from Casper. Okay, so next hand that's up is Linda Ollinger. Linda, you have the mic.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what AAUW stands for.
I believe it's American Association of University Women. I'm going to unmute RC. RC, tell us about AAUW.
Women.
Oops, sorry, I forgot. I didn't click correctly. Start over again, RC. Go ahead.
Okay. American Association of University Women.
Okay, so you had your hand up. What else did you want to say?
Okay, my question is, what is the fear of challenging Citizens United when they were saying they did not want to, or they were afraid that the legislation would challenge Citizens United?
So during the session, several of the senators who spoke out against us in the Senate on the floor debate, said that they felt like an amendment which changes the first, that limits the First Amendment, that this is an attack on free speech, that we were somehow against free speech, and by limiting corporate speech, we were harming free speech. That's the basic thrust of their argument. And of course, our response to that is no. We're actually in favor of free speech for people, for human beings, because only human beings should have political rights. Corporations are artificial entities that shouldn't have political rights, and therefore they shouldn't have the right of political speech. And we are actually amplifying the voices of human beings who do have the right of political speech by silencing the corporations who are drowning us out. So that I think is the major argument against us on the merits. Does that answer your question?
Yes. What concerns me is the thrust of what you just said. It needs to go out stronger to counter those arguments. And it just seems to me that a simple statement that you made just now should be the messaging.
Right, yes. And one of our working groups is going to be doing messaging work, so if you would like to volunteer for that task force or that working group, RC, would love to have you on board. Just let me know, and we'll add you to the way I see this working is I want to have a number of working groups that we'll have occasional meetings like this over the telephone or in person if we can get together in some place to start doing the messaging or start making plans for the signature writing parties and creating the materials for the postcard parties, or start working on presentations to go out to city council. So I'd like to have a bunch of working groups that meet periodically and then have one member of the board of directors of Wyoming Promise, Inc. To be the liaison to each of these working groups, so that when the board of directors meets on a monthly basis, we can sort of keep track of what's going on. And if some group needs some encouragement, we can identify that group early and let them get the help they need. So just one more report. One of the things we decided to do is we had to close down the Wyoming Promise PAC, which, since we're not doing a petition drive, the PAC no longer has a legal purpose, so we're shutting that down and creating Wyoming Promise, Inc., a nonprofit 501c4 organization. That we have bylaws that we've already incorporated it. It's actually an existing corporation, but it doesn't have bylaws yet. We're putting those together now, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll have it fully organized. And if anybody on this call is interested in serving on the board of directors, we're looking at hopefully having a 7-member board of directors. Please let us know. I know Michael Madden has already told us he's willing to be on the board of directors, and thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate your expertise, and it's going to be extremely valuable to have you as a member of the board. But anybody else who's interested in serving on the board, please send me an email, or you can raise your hand right now and say something if you'd like. Go ahead.
And this is Shelby Shadwell. We did send out, and Ken was very nice to send out a volunteer action form. If you want to be a part of our board of directors, it's pretty important to be in a leadership role in this. And, you know, a lot of us have been in leadership roles, and for the petition drive, good Lord, you folks put in so much effort. But if anybody wants to step up into a leadership role, it's amazing what you can accomplish. And we have changed the course of history, even thus far, in a very short period of time. I'm more than willing to put my hand up for any leadership role and continue that. But folks, step up. It's not a bad thing, and you can tell your kids and your grandkids that you made a difference.
Okay, let me just ask people by show of hands, how many of you would be willing to go talk to your city council or your county commissioners and advocate that the local government adopt a resolution in support of the 20th Amendment? Please press 1 on your keypad if you would be willing to do that kind of work for us. And I see a lot of hands going up. Give me another second. And I will, I'm going to read these names out. Lynn, if you want to write down the names so we can identify people we want to talk to later on about doing that. Any other hands going? A lot of hands are up. Anybody else want to volunteer to take a local role in going to your city council? Okay, so I'm going to call out the names of those who have put their hands up. I see John Bolander, Mike Lammers, Jennifer Miller, Eric Dalton, Kathy Kint, Lynn Horton Morrison, Chris Corfanta, R.C. Johnson, Christy Garretts. Good. So it looks like we've got people willing to go to Gillette, Casper, Cody, Sheridan, and a few other places. So the more of these kind of local things that we can get done, the better. And we'll have to put together a working group to come up with a draft resolution that we can take, and also some talking points, and work on that. Okay, let's do the same thing. Who would be willing to serve on the messaging team? And by this, the team, the working group that helps us refine the talking points, the presentations that we're going to make, the handouts, materials, just refining our message. Who, if you want to raise your hand, type 1 on your keypad if you would like to be part of the messaging working group. And again, I see a bunch of hands going up. So we'll see. Keep putting your hands up. A lot of hands going up. And any more hands? Okay, so let me call out the names of those who have volunteered to help out on messaging. That would be Sarah Salsi, John Rivera, Kathy Kent, Greg Haas, Lois Peterson. Hang on a second. Lynn Horton Morrison, Chris Corfanta, R.C. Johnson, and Christy Garretts. Great. That's a great group. So again, I can see email distribution groups and other ways of keeping that group in touch. I see Lynn has her hand up. Lynn, you've got the mic. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So, Ken, I don't know if this is something that you were going to talk about at the meeting. You know, we did discuss the issue of the, board of directors and also the chair and the vice chair, and then separating out the secretary and treasurer so that there's going to be a secretary and there's going to be a treasurer. So is that something that you're going to talk about tonight? And if so, how do we move forward with that?
That's something that will have to be decided at the first meeting, the organizational meeting of the corporation. So once we have identified the initial directors, we'll call a meeting of the directors, and then the directors, I think, will sort out who's going to take which office. So as Lynn said, we're hoping to have 7 directors and 4 officers, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, and that the board of directors will have to make decisions internally about who's going to handle those roles. So I'm not going to embarrass anybody by asking for volunteers for the board of directors right now, but if you're interested in serving on the board of directors, please email me. And so the selection is going to be made by the incorporators, the people who created the corporation, and that's me and Shelby and Lynn. And we're the 3 incorporators, and the way the bylaws work, and this is the way corporations get organized, this is a non-membership organization. The incorporators choose the first directors, and then the directors will then continue, for going forward, the directors will continue to perpetuate themselves and choose their successors or continue on in office. So Kathy Kent has her hand up. Kathy, you have the mic.
Yeah. Do you have the proverbial job description of what you're expecting from the board of directors?
I don't have a job description. I can tell you just verbally what a board of directors typically does, and that is, and what we're envisioning is that the board of directors, essentially, they make all of the policy decisions for the corporation, and I suspect, we hope that they will meet probably by telephone, because we want to have this geographically dispersed. We don't want everybody from all in one town. We want to spread them around the state. Probably meet once a month by telephone, or more often, meet as often as necessary. I think the bylaws require quarterly meetings, but we can always meet more than quarterly. If nothing's going on, we can skip a meeting, but probably have an hour and a half meeting once a month by telephone, probably in the evenings, and the idea is each director will probably have will serve as a liaison to one of the working groups that gets formed, so we can keep track of what's going on out there and report in on what's happening, and also figure out ways that we can support the effort at the level of the board. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I know that they're to govern the organization, but I was hoping you'd expound a little bit on the other duties, which I think you did. Thank you so much, Ken.
Okay,
and,
thank you.
And this is Shelby Shadwell. I would say that we will have the documents related to Wyoming Promise Inc. and all of that documented. But Ken, do you think we should have folks raise their hands if they would like to be a part of the board, just so we know if anybody would like to be on this board of directors?
Let's do this. How about you are thinking about it? This is directors is a bit more of a commitment. It's a longer term commitment. But if you are thinking about or possibly interested in serving on the board, please raise your hand or type number 1 on your keypad.
I think that's really important to do.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, anybody else? I see 4 hands up right now. Anybody else, at least, or thinking about possibly being on the board of directors? Okay, so the four hands that are up right now, 3 of them are the incorporators, me, Lynn, and Shelby, and also Mike Lammers has his hand up. So, Mike, thank you for your interest in serving on the board of directors. We do need 7, so and I know Mike Madden has already said he'd like to be on the board as well. So we will. That would be 5. So yeah, if anybody else want to think about it, let me know. We would like to get our organizational meeting and the bylaws done in the next week or 2. The bylaws have been drafted. They haven't been signed yet, and we haven't had the organizational meeting because we need to have the directors named at that first meeting. So we'll be working on finding directors in the next meeting, next few weeks. So we may be, and there may be some people who aren't on the call whom I think also might be interested, and we'll talk about that in a few later on. Okay, I see R.C. Johnson has her hand up. R.C., you have the mic.
Thank you. The question was raised during our conference of AAUW this weekend about whether funds that we had voted to send to Wyoming Promise had actually been sent and received, but that was when it was Wyoming Promise. What happens to funds that have been collected under Wyoming Promise versus Wyoming Promise, Inc.?
So Wyoming Promise has, and Shelby, you can report, there was a little bit of leftover money from Wyoming Promise PAC. Shelby, do you have any report on what that was and what we're going to do with that money?
Yeah, so we have been getting some recurring donations from Wyoming Promise PAC. We haven't received yet. I need to check the P.O. box, I suppose, again, to see if we have any checks in the mail. But, yeah, once we get all of the donations for Wyoming Promise PAC, we will be transitioning to Inc. Basically, we will be closing down that account. Our donation link on our website will go to Inc. instead of PAC. But that's going to take a little bit of time. But I wouldn't worry about that too much. I'm keeping an eye on that as we move forward.
Okay, thank you, R.C. All right. So, oops, and RC has her hand up again. So go ahead, RC.
Yeah, it's because of our accounting system, and we have to have. I didn't know if you had actually received the donation that was voted upon, and whether or not a receipt would have been sent to our treasurer. We're just trying to track our funds, that's all. And so, however you can track that and get back with me would be helpful.
I will indeed, RC. I will indeed. I haven't checked that yet, but I will. And I will get back with you if we receive anything via the mail.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, and Mike Madden has his hand up. Mike, you have the mic.
Yes, my issue is just on a different matter altogether, and that is whether or not there's somebody in the organization that's monitoring the work that the Corporations and Political Subdivisions Committee is doing with regard to the 501c4 organizations and whether or not, or to what degree, I should say, we can, through statute, require the revealing of the names, including corporations and individuals, that are making contributions to these so-called social welfare organizations, because I don't think we should underestimate the importance of that if we've got a committee that will agree to it and will sell it, particularly during a budget session before the election. I see that as really being critical, because you watch this money that keeps flying in there to these 501c4s with the benefit of not having to reveal who you are and how much you're contributing. You know, that's huge. And if we can monitor, they're going to have two more meetings for sure in that committee. And I just think we need to ride herd on it and make sure that, you know, despite the fact that it isn't the same as overturning, you know, a constitutional requirement, it's important in the near term that we have taken some action. And besides that, it's going to be very good publicity that we're serious about this. But that's the only thing I want to make sure that there's somebody that's going to these meetings, researching the products that they have as they develop it, and to see where it can be strengthened and so forth. But that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mike. And absolutely, we didn't get it together in time to go to the Casper meeting because both Shelby and I were dealing with final exams and final papers, and it was the wrap-up of the semester that week. But I do have both. There's two more meetings this year before the session begins in January, and I have them on my calendar, and I'm planning to go to both of them. I think one's up in Lander and one's in Cheyenne, I believe. And I'm planning to be at those meetings. Now, so the Casper Star Tribune report talked about the committee's intent to try and deal with the dark money groups, and the code revision that I saw and the part of the committee, the meeting I watched on YouTube this afternoon, dealt with direct contributions to campaigns. Is there something else besides that they're working on? Did I miss?
I don't know. I don't know. I think.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying that if they are working on it, somebody needs to be keeping track of it so that we have input as they're developing it, because it sounds to me like, I read the same article in the Casper paper too, but it sounds like the committee knows that we got a problem in this state.
Yes. And
it's a problem that hasn't existed for much more than about 3 terms, but if we don't put some kind of a damper on it. It's just going to get worse and worse.
Okay. Tell you what, I'm going to contact Kai Schoen. Kai was very helpful to us during the campaign, the petition drive, and I know that this is an issue that he's very concerned about. Let me contact Kai Schoen and see if there's something other than what I took a look at this afternoon. Maybe there's more than what I saw, and then I'll offer our assistance to him in reviewing draft language or strategizing or whatever, however we can help. I want to be part of the solution there. Because I do think that the committee sees this issue as a big issue, and I think you're right that they will likely want to get something done in the budget session in time for the 2020 election. Because if they wait until 2021, it's too late. They've lost another election. So I think there's an opportunity here to get something done even quicker than we might otherwise expect.
Right.
And this is Shelby Shadwell here. Is a registered Republican. I will say, Mike Madden, thank you again for being on here. And I will say that as our group continues, we are keeping records as the treasurer. I will say we're keeping records. We're going to make them public. We're going to put them on our website. And even if we don't have to report, we are going to report any sources of funding for this particular group out of issues of transparency and accounting, and we want to be above board on everything. Good.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Mike. And I see John Rivera has his hand up. John, you have the mic.
Thanks, Ken. When I first got on, I was going to ask about perhaps doing something to keep our legislation before the committee for this upcoming budget session, even though we realized we wouldn't have much of a chance to succeed. But in light of what the Corporations Committee is already doing, I think that the idea that we should work with Kay Schoen would really be helpful, so that we can have a presence and let the committee know that that this is still part of our issue. It's only a small part, but that we support that. And at the same time, if we can work with Kai to see if we can get the Secretary of State's office to maybe push the envelope a little bit to see if we can get a little bit more in it, I think is kind of what I heard Mike saying. But I think it's going to be an important strategy for this budget session.
Great, and I'd love to have your help on that, John. Because do you know Kai from when you were in the LSO?
I don't think he was there when I was in LSO, but when I made a couple of presentations here in Cheyenne on behalf of Wyoming Promise, and he and I had a discussion at one of them because we were both presenting. But I think we can develop a relationship as necessary to kind of further our mutual interests and our specific interests also.
Good. I'd be happy. Yes, and I agree. I think Kai is a friend. I think he'll be very helpful to us. I think he wanted us to succeed, and I think he's also very much on our side on the substantive issue here.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments?
Ken, this is Shelby real quick. I'd just say we've kept people here about an hour, and if we can keep things moving and get folks off to their areas, I think that'd be a good thing.
Okay, I see two hands are up again. Two hands are up. Three hands are up now. John, your hand's up again. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the issue of contacting some of the civic groups like the Kiwanis and the Rotary Club, and because they're largely apolitical service organizations, I was wondering what's the rationale for contacting them, and do we really think that we'll be able to get their support?
I don't know. I know that I spoke to a Kiwanis group here in Laramie, and I think a few other people have done that because they're always looking for speakers. I'm not sure that they will pass resolutions, but it's a way of perhaps keeping the issue in the public eye by volunteering to be their noon speaker. If we can get them to pass resolutions, that's great. But, I mean, groups like AAUW and League of Women Voters and those kinds of groups that do take positions, that's something we need to keep in our sites.
Yeah. Because it is important to keep the issue before the public, and the more support we can get from the public would only benefit us.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on. I want to see Lynn has her hand up. So, Lynn, you've got the mic.
I just wanted to say two things. One was to everybody who's on this call to once again think about serving on the board of directors. I know we're a little short on that, so I'm hoping that other people are thinking about that. And then the only other thing I wanted to do before we ended, if he's still on the call, would be to invite Azar Cole to say a few words. He might want to say something about the New Hampshire effort, or just a few words about American Promise's efforts in general.
Yeah, Azar unfortunately has left the call, so Azar is no longer here.
Okay.
Okay, and Chris Corfonta has her hand up. So, Chris, you have the mic.
There are other interim committees that are meeting across the state, and I know on the 10th and 11th, the Ag Committee is going to be in Sheridan, and some of those people voted yes for our cause, either in the in the House or the Senate. And how about the idea of if there is an interim committee, even if it isn't the Election Corporation Committee, to just show up with our buttons and bring them cookies, or I don't know, make conversation, keeping the issue alive and showing that citizens in that area that they're meeting in are very concerned.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm not sure it's worth us traveling, but if there's people local to that town, that the corporation, the committee that we need to really keep on top of is, of course, the Corporation and Elections Committee. Other committees that probably would not have to vote on this directly, if we can have local folks in that town where the meeting is do that kind of work, that'd be fantastic. I'm not sure it's going to be a high priority for me to travel there.
No, if it's in someone's local area and there are people who carry petitions there, and they could find where those meetings are by just going on the WyoDAG site to see the interim committee.
Or better yet, maybe we should compile a list and send it out to our volunteers and say, anybody local to these meetings want to take this up? That way we can do the website work. The website's not necessarily intuitive to work through, so we can do that for our volunteers. So, okay, thank you, Chris.
We've been using dark money, big money, corporate money. I know the AAUW resolution, one of the reasons it didn't pass this last weekend was their question, what is big money? So what do you suggest?
I suggest we have the messaging group work on that.
Yeah.
That's a messaging question. So we do want to get that group standing up and running here in another couple of weeks, hopefully. The sooner the better. Okay, a few more hands and then we'll call it a day. I have R.C. Johnson again. Go ahead, R.C.
Yeah. When you were talking about communicating with our local governments, actually that's a way of keeping the message in front of as many people as possible. And even if it's not the corporation board from the state legislature, The idea is to increase awareness of the issue, no matter where it happens, and even if you have local people doing whatever it is that projects the image of the change that we are seeking to make. So let's not dismiss the fact that it may not be a legislative committee, but it is still a gathering of people that we want to have their ear and understanding what is going on, because then they may be able to help with the vote when it does come in the legislature.
Yes, exactly. We're trying to gather support to talk to legislators going forward. American Promise also has a list. They have a list of 19 states that have called for a convention or called for the amendment. They have a second list of, and I think it's over 800 municipalities around the country who have done similar. So we could start adding names to the list of municipalities that have asked for this amendment too. So that's another thing, another reason why we do want to engage in that work, and we want to get started on it pretty quickly. Last two comments, I'm going to go to Kathy Kint and then let Shelby wrap us up. So go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, one of the things that we had talked about at the retreat, and I'm glad obviously we're forming a messaging group, but it would seem to me, do you envision a deadline to have this done? Because with the summer coming up and the opportunities for events and everything, it's going to be important to have that consistent messaging across the state. So what is your desire to have our materials done?
I would defer to the corporate board of directors to set a deadline, but I think sooner the better, obviously. It's going to take a little while to get everybody formed and running, but like I said, I'm hoping we're going to have the corporation organized and running within next 2 weeks, and that might be one of the first things we would take up as the board of directors to see if we want to put some kind of a deadline on that. Deadlines are our friend. I know that from being a writer. If I don't have a deadline, the writing project sometimes slides, so I understand how that works. So that's a good suggestion.
And I'll just say two of my big things coming up here, in addition to reporting our donations and spending expenditures, even though we don't have to. But it would be the postcard parties to thank our representatives. That is something that's going to come up over this summer, and I hope that you will all think about taking meetings or having county parties to write your representatives that did vote in favor of this. I think that's so important. We'll definitely do that. And then the other thing is, just to follow up on Kathy's point, timelines. We want to, whoever is on the board of directors, formerly the steering committee, we can come up with a timeline for things. I think that's super important, so we want to get on that as well. But definitely think about the next thing you do in your counties is a postcard party to thank your representatives that did vote in favor of this in the last legislative session. We were just so close. So think about that. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for joining us.
There's one more hand up now, and that's Christy Garrett's. Christy, go ahead.
Sorry, I think I was kind of thinking about volunteering for your board of directors if you really need me.
Okay. Another corner of the state that we'd have covered.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yes, and Greg Haas has his hand up. A few more hands came up. Greg, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, I'm sorry to keep people longer, but just had an idea that if people do organize postcard writing sessions, it'd be fantastic if they could snap a picture of the postcard. Any of that verbiage that gets sent might be helpful to the messaging committee. That's all I had to say. Thank you for the meeting tonight.
Okay, thank you, Greg, and thank you for all your help. And Linda Olinger. Linda, you have the mic.
Just a quick question.
Oops, where'd Linda go? Linda disappeared. Okay, I don't see Linda on the call anymore. Well, thank you, everybody. Very useful call. As you can see, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. So thank you, everybody, for all of you, everything you've done so far. Excuse me, swallowed wrong. So, we'll keep it up and keep working. Good night, everybody. Hello?
You are currently the only person in this conference.